First World War, the war to end all wars, a conflict that reshaped the battlefield with trenches, machine guns, and the first glimpses of the skies as a new frontier. World War II, a war of steel and fire, air power, tanks, and the might of industry redefines how wars were fought. Every battle, every breakthrough was built on the lessons of wars before. Today, war is fought with precision. Technology and the push of a button. But none of it would exist without a war that came before them all. Railroads, iron warships, rapid communication, all born in the fires of America's greatest struggle. Most importantly, it transformed the way the soldiers were equipped for war. Union soldiers wore dark blue coats and light blue trousers, which were more consistent because the North had better access to factories and resources. The dark blue helped distinguish them from the Confederate soldiers. They wore black felt hats or forage caps and had leather shoes. As the war progressed, the Union introduced simpler designs like sack coats, which were easier to produce and more comfortable for movement. The uniform was standardized, meaning that the soldiers wore the same gear, ensuring uniformity and easier identification. Confederate soldiers wore gray or butternut colored coats, which were often homemade fabric due to a lack of industrial resources. Their uniforms were not as standardized as the Union's, and soldiers would typically wear mismatched clothing. Many soldiers had to rely on civilian clothes or capturing Union gear. For headgear, the Confederacy used slouch hats and caps. Shoes were also in short supply, with many soldiers forced to march barefoot later in the war. Uniforms were often improvised, and soldiers sometimes had to make do with whatever materials were available, resulting in a lack of uniformity and practicality. The war also showed that bright colors made soldiers easy targets, which led to the use of neutral colors like khaki and dark green to camouflage with their environment. Protective gear became more important too, with helmets and stronger clothing being developed to protect soldiers with more dangerous weapons. Another key lesson was the need for good supply systems to get uniforms and gear to soldiers quickly, which led to better ways of producing and delivering supplies. Uniforms evolved due to supply shortages and their need for change. Early in the war, Union soldiers wore standardized dark blue coats and white blue trousers, while Confederates had mismatched uniforms due to shortages. Mid-war, the Unions adopted simpler, more practical sack coats, while the Confederacy continued to improvise with short jackets and natural dyes. By the end of the war, Union uniforms were more consistent and functional, while Confederate uniforms were more patched and improvised. These changes influenced the future design of military uniforms focused on durability and practicality. The Civil War changed military uniform by showing how important it was to have durable and practical clothing to soldiers. The Union started mass-producing uniforms in factories, making sure every soldier had the same quality and design. This idea of standardized uniforms became important in later wars. Soldiers needed uniforms that were lighter, easier to move in, and better for different weather conditions. So materials improved, and designs became simpler. This amazing idea made it possible for soldiers nowadays to protect me and the whole United States of America. All information that was obtained for this video will be displayed on screen. Extra information such as physical copies and books could be found on my note sheet. All videos and photos were paid and were also free from iStock and Pixabay. And that's History Explained.